So Stavy hates everyone we just mentioned. He hates them all.
Does
right?
he? Does
yeah.
He
he hates you. Read the comments.
You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so there was an episode of the New York Times podcast, one of their random gaggle of podcasts that they're doing nowadays, where they talk to Stavros Halkias. They've been taking more of an active interest in talking to some of these comedians who are blowing up doing podcasts and political commentary on their podcasts. Stavros is an interesting one because he's criticizing the rest of the podcast world, specifically right-wing politics, giving a much-needed dose of reality that the sort of agnostic, I'm going to play best friends with the far right and with fascists, is not viable anymore and is terrible for entertainment and for the world. So he went viral doing this interview recently, and then there was a response from, I guess, a couple hit dogs. Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer talked about it on their podcast, and they have a good relationship with Stavros. He filled in for them when they were like out. This is essentially a podcast like circling the drain, and you can see though that at least Bert Kreischer very much recognizes that the drama and the political subjects are kind of all the rage, as well as Bert not really being able to escape it because his alcoholism kind of makes him a regular punching bag. So I'm going to kind of work backwards on this podcast and start with their response to Stavros, but then I'll play a little bit of what he said afterwards because I never covered that podcast, even though a lot of people did. So here is Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer kind of struggling to grapple with what Stavros said about rich comedians on private jets and whatnot.
But if he wants Stavy to like him, he's got to fly coach.
People just want to be as successful as possible. They want to play arenas for arena's sake. They just want to be the kind of guy, like, they want to be on a private jet. I really want adversity because nobody gets funnier on a private jet.
This is what's so great about stand-up's fucking back, baby. It's hot. So Stavy hates everyone we just mentioned. He hates them all.
Does
right?
he?
Does he hates you. Read the comments. You're all cough, cough, Tom Segura. You fly private everywhere.
But I don't. But
I know.
But I think what he's saying is that, I mean, I saw this thing, but I think what he was saying is just that, like, a life of luxury doesn't make you funny, right?
Yes,
Adversity is what is relatable and keeps you funny. I think that's kind of
first
the point
of all,
of what he's saying.
I have to say real quick, I'm busting Stavy's balls. I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, I love Stavy.
I agree 100% with what Stavy's saying, and the truth is, flying private and doing arenas doesn't make you funnier. As a matter of fact, I think it is like, creatively, it's like swimming in overalls. Like, you're not going forward as quickly as you think. But I love you, Stavy, and I gotta say this because I know that, like, these things are great because it gets the comment sections going, and like people are losing their mind and they're going like, you know, like, oh, how dare you talk like that, Stavy? I missed it. And then other people are like, fuck yeah, Stavy, you're a man of the people. This is that. That's good for comedy. It gets people in the comments arguing. I gotta say, I love this. I love that Stavy talks like that. I love that. That's what I love about Stavy, is he fucking doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. No, that's great.
And even if he was talking about, which we think he was talking about you, even if he was talking about you, which is, I'm pretty sure is who he was talking about.
Okay.
I'm cool with him talking about my buddy like that.
I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine.
Okay.
I promise you, I am the least bothered person. It's not offending me.
All right, so Tom Segura, completely unbothered here, doesn't care at all, supposedly. He really does have the kind of dead-eyed sociopath thing going. And this really harkens back to, I think, a major turning point for Tom Segura, which was the moment where he was in an airport and he got mad because of basically not getting special treatment from airport security or whoever it was, and kind of having a freak out about the pores because people pointed out that he sounded like an out-of-touch rich guy complaining about these flights in this way, and he kind of tripled down saying, you people will never understand because you'll be poor forever and I'm rich now, so fuck you, basically. So in a way, that's what all of this harkens back to, and a lot of Stavros's critique is like more political, but what these guys are responding to is specifically the idea that comedians are getting richer and richer and getting more out of touch And I think that like these guys really have nothing to do but miss the point and, you know, make it more about comedy. They're talking about like the craft of comedy here and what it's like to perform in an arena, which is another thing that Stavros criticized. But really, it's this idea that the more money and wealth you amass, the less relatable you are by nature. And I think the difference between Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer and somebody like Stavros, it's not that amassing of wealth. Stavros is also a guy who's making a lot of money doing comedy, and it might not even necessarily be an ethical thing, but it's more so just the thought process of I don't want to be somebody who represents being an ultra rich guy and just embracing that inequality because it serves me. And I think that's what people find refreshing from Stavros, and that's why the whole, you know, arguments in the comments section this way and that way, you know, it's pretty one-sided in favor of Stavros, although he has his haters. But I think the reason that a lot of these guys are losing touch with the audience is just because of how bourgeois they are becoming, and the average person's getting frustrated with that. That's what you see them taking hits on over and over. So here's a little bit more on that subject of them being rich guys who are out of touch, as well as Bert Kreischer talking about the little games he's trying to play here, stirring the pot.
And I'm speaking to agree with Stavi, is that when you do, when Shane does Lincoln Financial, right?
Yeah.
And Shane knows this, and I mean, look, not everyone knows this, but like there are things he can do that make 77,000 people lose their mind.
Yeah.
But that if you do it in a club of people that don't really all know you,
Yeah.
your little subtlety is just falls flat. And you're like,
yeah, it all those things, of course, everything. And also what you're talking about is also the difference between playing to an audience that knows you and an audience that doesn't. But I mean, I think the thing you were trying to say is that everybody on these lists flies private. That was your point, right? That you were saying that like everyone that you mentioned.
Oh, I have the chat thread. Do you want me to pull it? I sent it texted to you.
About who does?
I just did a flying private chat thread.
Oh, that's...
Sent it to Stavi's clip. I was like, I think he's talking about you to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, but I understand his point. I do understand his point.
First of all, let's just be very clear, Stavi. You would love private. You would love it. It's so fucking nice.
Yeah.
All the snacks are there. All the things you like, Stavi, are in a private jet.
But he wants the adversity. That's what he's saying.
He's right. I mean, he's right. He's right. I mean, I think
waiting in line and getting like fucked over by TSA is a funnier experience than being like, can we drive onto the tarmac?
So again, throwing shots, trying to pretend that he's not offended. It's working a lot less well for Bert Kreischer because I think he's a lot more see-through about how hurt his feelings get. He keeps bringing up Shane Gillis over and over. He's clearly very jealous of the type of success that Shane Gillis has. And it's interesting that he uses him as an example. He's saying, you know, Shane Gillis can play to his crowd essentially at an arena show and make everybody laugh, but then those same jokes wouldn't work in a smaller club. And I think Shane Gillis is not the right example to use for that because Shane Gillis's act does hold up well amongst many different audiences. I think Nate Bargatze or something would be a better example of that, somebody who can kill in front of large crowds, maybe a little bit out of touch with the smaller club crowds. But all of that is really aside from the point that what Stavros is mainly talking about in the interview that he did is that he wants to keep his career humble and make sure that he is continuing to play to those smaller crowds and using that to beef up his material rather than depending on the fact that the audience is showing up for him, know him. So that's not only a focus on like, I want to be cool, I want to stay in touch with the conversation, which is what Bert thinks he's doing by bringing this up on the podcast, but rather it's like, I want to actually stay in touch with the audience and stay in touch with what is challenging me in my material. So it's just a more artistic approach, which is, you know, not going to lend itself towards arena tours, but I think that the success that Stavros has seen is a necessary antidote to the type of right-wing ideology in comedy that not only leads to the bigotry and the slurs, but also leads to people amassing huge amounts of wealth without really having a second thought about it. So before I move on to what Stavros said, here is something Tom Segura said, a point he was trying to make about this that I really don't understand very much at all. So here's that.
Yeah.
But there's the guys who are like, I'm a real lunch pail guy, like a real ham and egger. And that's their whole persona. And they are extraordinarily wealthy and they fly private everywhere and they live a life of luxury, but their whole thing is just to hose people into thinking that they're like grinding it out, trying to get by. I find that to be so much more like deliberate and misleading that you're like, you're not this guy, dude. You're just trying to lie. Like you're lying to everybody.
You're lying.
Yeah.
You're putting on a costume. My favorite guy is this guy. All right, I got to go on stage.
Oh, right.
Here, hold that for me.
Hold that.
And what? Wait, what are you doing? They can't see that.
So
man.
this is genuinely a bizarre turn of phrase. A real lunch pail guy, or what does he say? He says a real ham and egger. What the hell does that mean? Has anyone ever heard that before? What he's trying to say here is, guys who pretend not to be wealthy, pretend to be working class because that's part of their appeal. I honestly have no idea who he's talking about. Maybe you guys have some ideas in the comments. Like I said before, maybe Nate Bargatze, because he kind of appeals to more of a working class audience. I don't know. I can't think of one comedian who is like super successful and wealthy that banks on kind of a working class image. But it seems like a resentment that Tom Segura has built up ever since his incident in the airport where he spazzed out on the poors. And he has been noticeably quiet on those type of topics since then, but he'll get some shots in there every now and then, because really he just does have that kind of cold sociopathic thing about him, and it's perfectly aligned with somebody who would start amassing a lot of wealth, start being able to employ people like cleaners, people to basically raise your children, deal with your divorce, deal with other legal issues. You don't have to care about anything as long as you keep the money train floating. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these guys, and the type of success that they end up seeing is ultimately downstream of that. It's downstream of the fact that they're able to consolidate and willing to consolidate everything in their life into not just comedy, but like the economic pursuit of comedy, right? Market dominance. So here is, to wrap it up, the statements, some of the stuff that Stavros had to say about this, just to remind people and to leave you with a couple comments on that before I go.
And it's like when if your tour is being sponsored by Chase, you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna be fucking funny. There's no way. There's no fucking way. So it's like, and I don't even know if anybody. I wasn't taking shots if anybody happened to, but you know what? No, actually, fuck it. If somebody does have a bank, if somebody has a bank sponsorship for their tour, no apology. That's fucking ridiculous. But, this has become like people just want to be as successful as possible. They want to play arenas for arena's sake. They just want to be the kind of guy, like they want to be on a private jet. That sucks. You know what I mean? Like that's bad. First of all, that's destroying the world. But it's like, I don't like that we're trying to get as famous as possible.
You
and
touched on something though, the corniness argument. How do comedians, as sort of the canary in the coal mine, undo that thinking that it's actually punk to be right-leaning?
Nobody believes that. Like that's the thing. It's like nobody fucking believes
people
that.
say
Even the people who are doing
but
it.
No, they don't. I don't think they. I think that's just the psychosis that happens when you're rich and you want to tell yourself you're still the underdog. Right. And I do think, again, I haven't done an arena tour. Mm-hmm. I bet you arena tour psychosis is real, right?
You're out of touch.
So out of touch. Like if 15,000 people for 2 months straight are like, you think you're fucking Caesar? You think you're Julius Caesar? Yeah. Who the fuck else got 20,000 people to cheer for them in history?
I think this all the time. Like, imagine what it's like to be Taylor Swift.
Yes,
like,
dude.
You just walk out there, you can just stand in one spot for 15 minutes, and they'll chant your name at you.
There's no way that does not do something to
so
your
these
brain.
are great takes here on the wealth and all of it. And Stavros is such an interesting messenger for this type of stuff because he, is quite successful in comedy. And as he references all the time, he kind of coasts as well. He has a lot of talent. A lot of his business is like podcasting, just like the rest of these guys. And he has very strong political views, so he wades into the political stuff just as much as anybody, but he kind of hand waves it away and is essentially of the opinion that comedians shouldn't be taken seriously on politics. So I think part of the issue is that somebody like him, who is smart enough to at least speak coherently about these things and make the type of points that need to be made, like the far right in America is way overrepresented. American politics is way unbalanced in that direction. So really any correction to the left is a good thing. But he also, unfortunately, is smart enough to not want anything to do with it. And, he would rather just make dumb jokes than talk about politics. But that is part of why people on the right are able to take up more space politically, because they're willing to say dumb things and pretend they know what they're talking about and pretend they're important journalists just because people are watching their podcast where they talk to politicians. And so they end up filling up more of people's time, essentially. And I don't think anybody could have predicted how much of people's like waking hours would be taken up listening to podcasts. And so I think you're seeing this begrudging, like, okay, fine, I'll get there, I'll get to that space to try to fill it up with something more positive. So we'll see. I mean, honestly, I think probably podcasting is a safer bet than like AI, you know, because ultimately it's social. It's a social activity, and I think that's part of what fuels its popularity and fuels people's willingness to continue doing it. And so, you know, the guys who are getting increasingly rich, even as they're talking to more people on their podcast and in their arena shows, they're becoming increasingly asocial, and the things that they're talking about are less socially recognized, less socially acceptable even. And it goes from talking about things that are kind of cute or funny to expose yourself about, to being like, Jesus, what's wrong with these guys? You know? And so right-wing politics is going to always have some advantage in the media space because of their willingness to just fill the airwaves with bullshit. But the advantage that comes from the other side is a genuine sociable aspect and, you know, appealing to the types of things that are meaningful to people's lives on a material level. And that social aspect of production is actually an important part of why socialists believe that the economy should be controlled democratically, because a lot of production happens on a more social basis. So focusing on those type of social politics and the things that do connect with people on a broad basis and kind of unite people over a sense of working class solidarity is, I think, the most positive direction to go. But it is true that it can also be infiltrated.
I'm in the pocket, and you know they can't slow it, can't stop shit. How the game so cold, so toxic, can't drop cause they're in somebody's pocket. For me that's not it.